The spread and preservation of information is something that is often taken for granted in our daily lives. With the widespread use of mobile devices and the internet, our ability to quickly create, share, and store information has never been faster. But in the past, dissemination of information was a slow and arduous process. In ancient times, information was often transferred either orally or through writing that required the painstaking hand copying of books. In addition, the lack of access to books meant that there were relatively few literate people that could read these rare works of literature. These literate few were often religious and secular elite, adding to the power that came with possessing manuscripts and being able to read them. With the invention of paper in China saw its use as a writing material, and around the 10th century BC, the Chinese were using movable type presses to reproduce written works. While this provided a method of replicating text, it was not a particularly fast process, and in fact, was not well suited to the logographic or character-based writing of Chinese words, as too many different typecasts were needed for each individual character. It was not until the mid-15th century that the world saw a truly transformative printing method in the form of Johannes Gutenberg's Gutenberg Press. Born in Germany in approximately 1400 AD, Gutenberg was the youngest son in a wealthy family and eventually became a goldsmith. While not much is known about Gutenberg's life, it is speculated that he was in financial trouble around the year 1440, but still managed to secure a loan to build his first printing press. Based on existing screw presses, the Gutenberg press used the same fundamentals as other movable type presses, in that it involved transferring the impressions of an inked template onto paper. His press, however, separated the typesetting and printing processes to improve its efficiency. Gutenberg also used his goldsmith skills to produce a durable metal typecast and developed oil-based ink, which allowed him to develop a printing press that was efficient, sturdy, and reliable. Coupled with the reduced number of characters that a Latin-based alphabet needed, Gutenberg's press was able to print up to 240 impressions an hour, well beyond what other printing presses at the time were capable of. Using Gutenberg's press starts by selecting the typecasts to form the template of the page to be printed. The casts were sized such that an entire 2-column page could be printed at once. Once the template is ready, it is placed into the machine and the operator applies ink to the typecasts. Once thoroughly inked, a sheet of paper is laid on top of the template and then slid into the press. The operator pulls on the handle to firmly press the paper onto the inked template, transferring the impressions. After the paper is removed, the templates can be re-inked and reused. To say that the Gutenberg press had a significant impact on literacy, knowledge, and education is an understatement. During the mid-15th century, Europe was undergoing an economic and cultural change into which Gutenberg introduced his printing press to. As the medieval age was drawing to a close, much of Europe was enamored with the study of arts and sciences. Gutenberg's press, in large part, helped the dissemination of knowledge by providing the masses with books. This resulted in a burgeoning literate middle class and the democratization of knowledge. By the early 1500s, there were printing presses throughout Europe, and it was estimated that there were 30 to 35,000 different publications and book numbers in the tens of millions. Another of the impacts the printing press had was that it helped standardize spelling and grammar, as well as reduce the cost of books. It also fundamentally changed pedagogical thinking, and in the classroom, the way the students learned and were educated was never the same again. Records and books became a wealth of knowledge that any student could access and use towards furthering their education. Additionally, the lowered cost of books and the accessibility meant that curricula could be developed that analyzed multiple texts, moving away from the traditional standardized textbook. This meant that it became increasingly easier to produce multiple texts focused at specific grade levels and topics, giving rise to an education system that was divided into subjects and sequenced according to grade. The spread of literature in academia also led to the acknowledgement of authorship. As the printing press allowed accurate reproduction of written works, the sources of information were now verifiable and thus important, paving the way for references and citations in academic writing. The impact of the printing press was felt beyond the world of academia as well. Early presses were often used to reproduce scripts that were in demand. These were usually religious works, such as prayers or Bible stories, and Gutenberg's first complete books were in fact copies of the Bible. The ability to transcribe ideas onto paper and pass it on led to radical changes in thinking, and Gutenberg's press has been credited as a key factor in the transition into the Renaissance era. In addition, Martin Luther's propensity for publishing and the efficiency of Gutenberg's press allowed Luther to use printed word as a way to quickly spread religious materials among the newly literate. This eventually set in motion the events that led to the Protestant Reformation. Interestingly, with the improvement in reproducibility, there was also an increase in the amount of poorly printed books. Prior to this, the limited number of manuscripts meant that each one was accurately and professionally copied, maintaining a high standard of quality. The caveat to the newly found speed and low cost of Gutenberg's printing press, however, was that his books were in actual fact of inferior quality compared to most medieval manuscripts. Added to this was the concern of the increased ability of the general public to print their own written materials, and that this could lead to an increase in the amount of false information spread. This inverse relationship between increasing accessibility and reducing quality is still something that is apparent in the modern day, with a large increase in information available, yet perhaps not a similarly proportional increase in the quality of such information. The speed at which this information propagates compounds this effect, as users may not take the time to verify information before hastily passing it on, leading to the modern phenomenon of news items going viral. Despite this, the printing press still marked a crucial point in the history of communication. The advent of print even initiated a socio-cultural change in the way people interacted, as primarily oral cultures that relied on public hearings begat a literate culture that consumed information in print forms. As the printing press evolved, so came improvements in speed and efficiency, to the point where newspaper companies owned their own presses and could inform the public of news that happened overnight. Even with the use of the internet and mobile devices and its impact on modern society, the benefits and change that Gutenberg's press brought to its era and the eras afterwards should not be overlooked. Written works are more numerous than ever, and the press itself has expanded to a myriad of print mediums, from illustrations to clothing. While the specific format may have changed, and the inner workings of the printing press machine itself may have changed, our ability to record, preserve, and pass on ideas and knowledge in the form of written word has and continues to allow us to further and develop our society and culture. All it takes is one look around to see how many products of the printing press there are, to understand how much we have gained in terms of literacy and knowledge. And for all of this, we have to thank Johannes Gutenberg and his ingenious Gutenberg printing press.